Hi, my name is Lindsay Spitz, and for this course, I chose to track my alcohol consumption, and this ended up not only teaching me about myself, but also a lot of things that I can use in the future in my career. The tracking period that I tracked my alcohol consumption was 49 days long, and of those 49 days, I consumed alcohol 5 times. The first 4 times fell within the first month from the 14th to the 14th, and then the last time fell on the second half of the tracking period, which wasn't a full month. The first 4 times I consumed alcohol, they were in a social setting. As in like a bar or a house party. And then the last time I drank alcohol was in a smaller, more intimate setting with just one other person. Of all of these 5 times, every time I consumed like a hard liquor, I choose to not drink beer or wine just because of my preference. And every time I drank, I consumed 2 shots or more. That could have been like a larger amount of shots or 2 shots and a mixed drink. Over this tracking period, I spent nearly $160 just on alcohol alone. And it is said by the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism that binge drinking is considered 4 drinks in roughly 2 hours, and then heavy drinking is binge drinking 5 times a month. So I found that about 3 times that I drank, it was considered binge drinking, while the other times it was not. And both months I did not meet the heavy drinking criteria, but that does not say that I wasn't drinking at an unhealthy level. So the first thing that I learned about my behavior was the role that this behavior was actually playing in my life. 4 out of the 5 times that I drank, it was in a social setting, so that could go to say that alcohol is playing a role in the social aspect of my life. One of the times that I drank, I felt that the alcohol was the reason I was getting quality time with this person, but the other times I was drinking, I knew that the people I was with, they would not care if I consumed alcohol or not. They wouldn't really question it, and they wouldn't not be with me if I weren't drinking alcohol. I could hang out with those people whenever I wanted, doing whatever activity, so the alcohol wasn't really a contributor there. But it is said by Michael Sayette that alcohol increases social bonding, face-to-face communication, and it decreases the negative feelings that are expressed in those settings. This could be seen in by my behavior because it does increase my communication and social bonding with other people, not necessarily the friends I'm drinking with, but other people I wouldn't normally see if I weren't out in public in the bar setting. Um, Another reason that is very common for people to consume alcohol is they use it as a coping mechanism. This is something I cannot necessarily relate to because during this tracking period I did feel very stressed because of work and school, but there was no correlation between the stress I was feeling and the amount of alcohol I drank. What normally causes my stress is my time management and procrastination problem, and alcohol would definitely not help with that. It would actually make it much worse. So I don't necessarily use it as a coping mechanism. However, it was found in a study that 38% of students use alcohol as a coping mechanism, and they split up the students that they studied into different groups and involvement on campuses, and it was found that 72.1% of sorority members said that they used alcohol as a coping mechanism, and it was the highest group that they surveyed, but I just don't really relate to that. So that uh, I go against the research in that aspect, but I just don't believe that it would help me in any way because, again, I struggle with time management and procrastination, and if I chose to drink to deal with that stress, it would just um, take me longer to get my work done. Not only did I learn about the role that alcohol played on my life, I also learned my motivation to change this behavior in the future. As many people know, there are a lot of health reasons why people should not drink alcohol in like increased amounts in prolonged periods of time. This is something I've known since I started drinking. Um, some of the diseases that it can cause are alcoholic polyneuropathy, alcoholic myopathy, liver disease, high blood pressure, pancreatitis, cancer, stroke, and epilepsy. But the list really does just go on. It's not a lot of positive health effects that alcohol can have. But I've known about this since I started drinking, and it hasn't really deterred me to not drink. I think this is because I'm young, and thus far, no health professional or doctor has told me that I need to stop drinking. And the amount I'm drinking isn't really considered dangerous yet, despite the fact that these diseases have been seen in my family history. I just don't really perceive this risk to be high enough for me to want to change it at this moment. This is not the right way to think, but it's just currently my mindset. However, one thing that it does make me want to change my drinking habit is the financial reasons. I spent $160 on alcohol alone during the tracking period. This means that I'm not including the gas it took me to get to where I was drinking, because I don't drink in the town I live in. I drink in the town next to me, so that costs some money. And then because of this, I also go out to eat that whole weekend, and I'm not even including that money or money I spent like an Uber or something like that. So this means that I'm probably spending like $250 a month on like alcohol and the weekend of drinking itself. But just on alcohol alone, I am probably spending like $1,000. And this to me is just very eye-opening because I am trying to save money and I am a college student right now. So I'm trying my best to save enough money to move out eventually. So this just seems like a very frivolous expense that I'm putting on myself. And it's definitely what is making me want to change. Despite the fact that it's not necessarily the most important reason why I should stop drinking, it's what I see as the most important right now, even though that's not necessarily the right frame of mind to have. Overall, I learned a lot about my behavior, and it taught me a lot about myself and about things I can use in the future. I think the most important takeaway that I learned from this is that people's motivations aren't necessarily going to be what you expect them to be and what you think they should be. It's going to be what matters most in their life right now and what they perceive as the problem. So that's definitely something I plan to use in the future with my career.